In a world where every child's destiny is sealed on their 10th birthday, one boy stands before the goddess and sees nothing. No class, no future, no path. His parents are legends. His father, an archmaid. His mother, a sword princess. Yet their son is branded with the impossible, classless. What happens when the boy, who should have inherited greatness, is denied it? This is the story of Eiyuu, the child with no class, who chooses to fight against fate itself. It all starts on the morning Aurel clocks 10. As is the custom in that city, every child who reaches the age of 10 has a ceremony where they meet the goddess through the priest and receive blessings with classes. Aurel's father, Leon, is so excited to find out what class Eiyuu will get. So excited that he couldn't even get a blink of sleep that night. His mother, Farah, is more glad than the day she saw her revelation. Aurel, on the other hand, doesn't seem bothered at all. He sits and watches them blabber in their excitement. His sister is also glad about the class he will get, reminding him that the class a child receives is dependent on genetics. And since their parents are geniuses, there is sincerely no doubt about him. Leon teases him that if he gets a good class, several women will chase him. This makes his sister insecure, and she insists that he is too young for that. The happy family laughs that day without knowing what the future has in store for them. Later, the ceremony begins, and the priest stands in front of the goddess to call all the children. Each comes to the front, and he touches their heads. After touching their foreheads, they see a vision of items that signify their classes, and the priest announces the class. When it's Aurel's turn, everyone claps excitedly. He seems to be the star of the day. The crowd talks about how his father is an archmaid and his mother is a sword princess. The union of such talented people just has to be the best. His sister also reminds him that classes are dependent on genetics, so he has no reason to be afraid. When he gets there and the priest touches his head, his vision is blank. Unlike the other kids, he can't see anything. The priest notices the same and reveals there is only one reason: he is classless. This seems impossible, but it is his reality. Growing up, he starts training, but his grip is weak. His parents watch his hopeless self, and Farah concludes that she and her husband will just have to work harder and retire late so he won't need to work. He is tired of their disappointing comments, but before he can speak, his sister walks in and reaffirms their words. However, he is calm. He sits them down and tells them he isn't disappointed. He reminds them that he has been training with his mother since he was a child, and although it was a little hard, he had gained his grip with weapons a long time ago. He recalls how Farah fought with him and threw him against trees so often that she had to scout for him with her eyes. Because his mother is a sword princess, he had it easier, although his journey would have been better if he had swordsman skills. He insists he will still work hard. In his opinion, hard work can achieve what skills can, though it may take more effort. He is ready to do it. Hearing him speak excites his parents. He is indeed smarter than his age and will do great things. He excuses himself from their praises and asks to train on the field. As he approaches the field, he overhears two boys with the swordsmanship skill training. They commend how receiving skills made them feel stronger. Their bodies move with little effort, and they can do great things. When he arrives, they stop, recognizing him as the boy with no skills. They ask why he is on the field. He replies that just like them, he is there to train. But they counter, saying they aren't training, but showcasing their skills in a duel. Since he has no skill, they tell him to just watch and see how good having a skill can be. Unbothered, he watches them. He notices that while their grip is good, they can't maximize it, since all they rely on are skills. Confident, he asks to fight them. One boy proudly offers to duel, reminding him that he is classless and could die if he doesn't remember his place. He also asks if Aurel has divine protection, and Aurel says yes. The goddess gives every child divine protection at birth, granting strength and resilience so they can't die easily. Since Aurel has that, the boy is glad he can beat him repeatedly, but when he raises his sword, Aurel defends himself. The boy quickly realizes Aurel is strong. His friend asks why he hasn't defeated Aurel as planned, but he has no answer, so he calls his friend to join in. Aurel defends himself against them both, and they even end up hitting each other instead. As they stop to re-strategize, Aurel seizes the chance to strike one unaware, then forces the other to slip by using his friend's body. With both on the floor, Aurel declares himself the winner. They protest, claiming he won by fraud, but then a red-haired youth arrives. He insults the boys for not being as strong as they claim and recognizes Arel as Farah's son. He remarks that fighting with his mother explains Arel's strength, but reminds him that he has no skills. He calls the boys pathetic, saying that's the only reason Arel won. Instead of overestimating himself, Arel should fight him to see the real difference. The boys recognize the red-haired youth as the son of Captain Evans, the head guard of the town. Arel also knows Captain Evans. He has seen him visit Farah several times for help in fighting monsters. While Arel admits the captain is strong, he insists the boy doesn't take after him at all. The boy feels the same about Arel and grows angry. Despite Captain Evans' great service to the kingdom and skill with the sword, Farah is still considered the best swordsman in town. This stings him deeply, as it belittles his father's efforts. Arel wonders why the boy takes his anger toward Farah out on him, but the boy continues. He explains that since gaining his skills the year before, he has trained every day without pause and is now an intermediate swordsman. If skills and strength are genetic, he will prove his family superior by defeating Arel. Arel isn't ready to lose either. He affirms his strength and prepares. When the fight starts, their strengths are evenly matched. Onlookers wonder if Arel truly has no class because he fights like an intermediate swordsman. Arel soon notices that the boy is fighting with emotion, leaving gaps in his defense. Arel presses closer to exploit them, but the boy counters with the twin blade slice, defeating Arel. It is Arel's first time seeing someone fight with two swords. The boy explains that it is an attack skill for classed warriors, one Arel can't defend against. Arel accepts the loss and returns home. Days later, his sister wakes him early, and since he isn't a morning person, they quarrel. After breakfast, he sets out to train, but his sister tries to stop him, saying he is too hard on himself. She promises she will create a world where he won't need to struggle. He ignores her and leaves. After he goes, she expresses concern to Farah, who reassures her. Farah shows her the box of broken swords Arel brings back each night, insisting that sparring with skilled peers is what gives him strength, so there's no need to worry. As expected, Arel is already at his sparring field. He has been taking all his losses against the red-haired boy just to learn the twin sword technique. After long practice, he finally succeeds. He predicts a goblin behind him, and when it attacks, he turns and uses the twin sword to kill it. Suddenly, he hears a much stronger monster approaching. Shocked to find such a beast so close to the town, he decides to warn the guards, but then hears a boy's voice. Someone is in danger. He sneaks closer and sees the red-haired boy. The boy also spots him. Arel realizes the boy has also been training alone against monsters, which explains the hobgoblin now fighting him. Arel wants to help but hesitates. He must be sure his skills can hold up. Choosing his moment, he strikes when the hobgoblin is about to attack and kills it with the twin sword. The boy, shocked, collapses. Arel sees his divine protection is gone and asks about his holy water, but the bottle is broken. Arel offers his own, reviving him immediately. As the boy recovers, he demands to know what skill Arel used. Arel explains he endured all his attacks just to study the twin sword technique closely, then practiced on his own. Though he struggles to believe it, the boy knows it is true. To test it, he challenges Arel again, this time out of gratitude. They duel, and Arel's twin sword shatters his blade. Then Arel surprises him by drawing a third sword. Even classed warriors cannot wield three, but Arel reminds him he didn't get his skills through class, so he doesn't have a limit. Through hard work, he can keep adjusting his strength until it works. The boy refuses to accept it, but in the rematch, he insists that there is no way Arel's sword can be faster than his own, and he hopes to win with that. However, Arel strikes him down. Walking away, Arel declares victory. Days later, Farah tells Leon that Evans' son is going to Brescia. Arel realizes it's the same boy and asks what Brescia is. They explain it is a guild for swordsmen, and Farah fondly recalls her time there before marriage. Excited, Arel longs to go too. But first, he must grow strong enough to be considered worthy. Can he do that? 5 years later, somewhere in a forest, a carriage with half a dozen passengers is on its way to Brescia, the city of swords. The rider informs them that once they cross the mountains ahead, they will reach Brescia, and hearing that, a lady passenger of the dual swordsman class becomes excited as it has been a dream for her to go there. The same can be said for another passenger who is a barbarian, but he doesn't want to talk with the lady because of her choice of clothes. He complains about how big her sword is, to which the lady gets offended and almost gets into a brawl with him. The carriage driver thankfully manages to calm both of them down by stroking their egos, mentioning how amazing both of them are as they both belong to advanced classes. Since they are so good at combat, the carriage driver requests both of them to use their powers and defeat a horde of orcs approaching their way. However, neither of the cocky passengers shows any more confidence in themselves after seeing the Orc King amongst the Orc army. The barbarian is the first to run away from trouble, followed by the Melon Lady, abandoning the rest of the weak passengers like a bunch of cowards. The carriage driver wonders what he should do now when suddenly a passenger steps out from the carriage. It's Errol, and he courageously storms into the enemies, attacking them with such speed that it looks as if he's invisible. The carriage driver recognizes Errol's move as the blink dash skill and eagerly watches the talented swordsman take on hundreds of orcs all by himself. As Errol cuts the enemies down, swinging his sword like it's dancing, the carriage driver becomes astonished, recognizing the skill to be the skill of the Sword Princess. Apparently, such a skill can only be mastered by women from the same class, so the carriage driver doesn't understand how this guy is able to use it. What he doesn't know is that our classless boy Errol here is blessed with the power of nepotism. So of course, he's super overpowered. It doesn't take Errol any time to defeat the Orc King as well. And once he finishes the job, he returns to the carriage, asking the driver to continue driving to Breia, mentioning that he wants to go there to train and become stronger. The driver laughs reluctantly hearing that, because in his mind, the guy in front of him doesn't need any more training as he's already too damn strong. Imagine the driver's reaction if he learns that this guy is actually classless. Anyway, we get to see a flashback from 5 years ago that shows exactly how Errol mastered his mom's sword dance skill. It was one of those days when he was training with his mom, Farah, watching when he, after tons of practice, was able to recreate the twin blade slice skill. His mom was unable to believe it at first, as she had already assumed that her boy was a total failure. But after facing reality, she realized how much of a terrible mother she was for giving up on her son so easily. Errol calmed her down and expressed his wish to recreate other skills as well. So he asked Farah to show him her sword princess skills too, and this is how he eventually mastered that skill in these past 5 years. Now, coming back to the present, he arrives at Breia, the city of swords. As he walks through the city, wondering which place he should visit first, a girl suddenly sneaks behind him, but as she tries to grab him, he dodges her effortlessly without even seeing her. This makes the girl realize he's talented, so she begins her usual advertising before asking him to join her guild. Errol isn't interested in joining the guild of this obvious scammer, as he's certain that she's from a minor guild that has no members, but she literally starts to beg, promising him a date with her if he agrees to join. But he makes it clear that he isn't interested in flat earthers, shattering the poor girl's heart. Before walking away again, he has the audacity to ask her what the strongest guild of this city is, and the girl reluctantly tells him the name Black Blade, a guild with 8 A-ranked swordsmen. After learning the location from her, Errol heads there and learns from the guard that one must pass a test to join the guild. So he goes to the reception to register for the test, but the receptionist refuses to let him apply upon hearing that he's classless. He even humiliates Errol, so Errol has no other option but to leave quietly. He heads to several other guilds, but they all reject him for being classless. After failing everywhere, Errol finally chooses to use the power of nepotism and uses the letter of recommendation his mom gave him to join her old guild. But before he can head there, the girl from before comes nagging again and keeps following him like she has nothing else to do with her life. She even gets down on all fours, stating she'll lick his shoes if he joins her guild, but bro still refuses. As he avoids her, he goes to the location of his mother's guild. By the time he gets to the address he had, he can't find anything there. Before he could search farther, the young girl who has been avoiding him for a while comes there, and she is shocked that he had come to check them out. She asks if he will see their place, and she points out a big building. Seeing the building, he assumes that the guild is a big place. He asks her what had happened since they had such a big structure before, and quickly concludes that they fell from glory. Well, he is right. She reluctantly agrees that they fell from glory, but brags that, with time, they will get their glory back and he will be shocked. She brags that they have the dual sword king, and their dragon fang will recover. Hearing that reminds him of his mother's words. She had said The head of her guild was the Dual Sword King, and their guild was named after one of his skills, the Dragon Fang. He realizes that was his mother's former guild, so he has no choice, and he follows her. He enters, and the girl sees her father, who is the head of the guild, drunk. She stops him, reminding him that the doctor had asked him to stop drinking. Her father doesn't answer her. Instead, he advises Arel that he doesn't have to join them, so he should leave. He walks away, and Arel notices that he had lost one of his hands. The girl reveals that her father was the second strongest man in the city before he lost his hand and became a drunkard. She feels discouraged that with what Arel has seen, he won't want to join them, but Arel says he will join them. Well, not like he has a choice. She happily gives him the form, and he signs it. She collects it and reads through, then sees that he had no class, which she assumes is a joke. She asks him to get serious. He repeatedly tells her that he has no class and even shows his class certificate to her. She is beyond shocked. She immediately takes her sword, threatening him to renege on the contract and leave them immediately if he doesn't want to die. It is enough that their guild is dying. Getting a classless person will only make it worse. He doesn't accept, so she screams at the top of her voice. Her screams attract the attention of the only member of the guild, a red-haired girl who enters the room. She calls the little girl Lilia and asks why she is screaming at the top of her voice. Lilia reveals that she thought she had a new member, but she is shocked she had brought a classless person. The red-haired lady, named Reiner, claims she knows Arl and that she is from the same city with Arl. She insists that she and Arl trained together, but Arl denies her vehemently. He admits that there was a boy with her hair color that he trained with, the son of Captain Evans. Reiner looks at him in disgust, saying that Captain Evans had just a child, and it is a daughter, so it is her. Well, I am as shocked as Arel because I referred to this lady as a man too. Well, Arel apologizes to her for assuming she was a man, and she also admits that she had changed a lot since she started keeping her hair. Well, her hair isn't the only thing that changed. Even her body is totally changed. Arel feels the urge to say that, but it may be wrong, so just like me, he keeps quiet. Reiner had told Lilia about the boy that she lost to before traveling, so Lilia is damn shocked to find out it is Arel. Reiner, on the other hand, is excited because she gets a chance to show Errol that she has gotten better over the past 5 years. She wonders if Errol would love to have a friendly bout with her on the field, and he accepts. When they get to the field, Errol admits their field is big. He goes down to start the fight, and Lilia wonders if Reiner really wants to fight a classless. Reiner joins Errol, and Errol moderates the fight. Reiner starts with the same twin blade again, and Errol is so familiar with it, he assumes he could cancel her blade again. But this time, her blade wins, and he gets hit. She laughs and reminds him that she had improved over the last 5 years. He could have the same skill, but he can't win her sword. The sword she is using has more weight because she now has the Power Blademan skills, which is an advanced class. He admits she had done well, but wonders why she told him her secret. She insists she wanted him to have a fair game because he can't win no matter what. Seeing that her blade is strong, if she hits him, he could die. So he uses defense. He holds off her blade, and when she assumes she saw a lapse, she hits him, but he disappears and appears behind her with a hit. He is using the afterimage skills, which are only for A class. She asks how he could learn that without a class, and he reminds her how much hard work can do. He sees that his hit didn't do any damage to her, and she reveals she got another skill that conceals damage, so no matter how much he hits her, she can't get injured. Fair enough. He just has to use a better skill. He hits her again, this time with a counter skill he got from his mother, the Sword Princess, and she gets terribly injured. She falls and cries that she lost again, despite getting stronger. Errol commends her strength, but reveals that he got tougher too. Indeed, so much must have happened for him to get this strong. Lilia comes to give her the spirit water and chastises him for making her cry. Reiner walks away in tears. Lilia takes Arel inside and welcomes him to the guild. He reminds her that she wanted him off before, but good for her. He had signed the contract, and now he has no choice. He asks how their guild had gotten destroyed, and she reveals they are indebted. He asks her how much they owed, and she whispers it to his ears. She encourages herself that the guild competition is coming soon, and they can recover the money if they win. That is why she was looking for a new member, because they have to be 3 to apply. He is fine with it and encourages her they can do it, but he sees she feels reluctant. He interrogates her, and she reveals that every other guild has 5 members, and they need to fight against 5 members. This encourages Aurel more, because it means he will get stronger. Her father looks at them from the door, and he is encouraged. Aurel asks why Reiner had stayed despite their condition, and Lilia explains how Reiner was rejected when she got to the city until her father took her in. This makes Aurel confirm that Reiner feels indebted to her father. Well, Reiner hasn't changed. Instead, she has grown, and Aurel has grown too. I have high hopes for the guild, and fingers crossed to see the result. Aurel wakes up the next morning, excited that he had a place to sleep that night. In fact, that was the same room his mother stayed in when she was an adventurer, so that alone must have made his night even better. He stands up and meets the girls. He greets Lilia, who responds happily, but when he greets Reiner, she replies grudgingly. He immediately figures she's still angry at him for defeating her the day before, but they have more pressing priorities at that moment. Lilia congratulates their team because now that they are 3, they can compete in the guild competition. She reminds him of her worry from the day before about their smaller team size and the fact that they'll be competing against teams with 5 representatives. The game is guild versus guild, meaning they'll be taking on a representative of each guild head-on. She's a little calmer because she assumes that since they're B-class swordsmen, they won't be matched against A-class fighters, giving them some leverage. Aurel doesn't even know what classes of adventurers mean, so he asks Lilia what she's talking about. Although they mock his ignorance at first, they explain that there are 4 classes of adventurers: A, B, C, and D. In that town, there are about 20 A-class adventurers. Both Reiner and Lilia are B-class, and Lilia predicts that since Aurel defeated Reiner, he'll also be ranked B-class. They'll fight adventurers in their class head-on, so they have a chance to win. Aurel asks if she thinks the prize from the competition will be enough to pay their debts, and she's quite confident it will. She immediately leaves to check which guild they're fixed against so they can prepare adequately. While Lilia is away, Reiner also tries to leave, but Aurel calls her back. He recalls that she bragged about being a power swordsman, so he asks what other skills she has. She reveals that she has the Guts skill, which increases her divine protection against harm, and Aurel loves the idea of having that skill too. He asks if she could hit him with her sword, but she's concerned she might hurt him. He insists that he has to get hit several times to learn the skill, and they can use that opportunity to get friendly. She takes his friendly comment too seriously, but he quickly clarifies that he only needs the skill. She calls him an idiot. Why would he need to get hit? But she'll never understand what a classless hero goes through. She reminds him that no matter how hardworking he is, he'll never be able to outwork a skill given by the gods. So it's a waste to insist on learning it himself. Trying to prove her wrong, he heads to the training ground with her. There, he picks up her sword, but she insists he'll never be able to lift it since it's 5 times heavier than a normal sword. To her shock, he lifts it easily. She's stunned because she can only use it thanks to her brute sword skill, but he wields it without one. He reminds her that he has other skills that are stronger than hers, even without the god's blessing. She admits she underestimated him and apologizes. He offers to help her train, but warns that she shouldn't expect him to go easy, and she doesn't. As they train, Lilia returns in terror. She's just found out who their first opponent is, and it's bad news. She spots her guild members on the field and rushes to them. Without checking what they're doing, she blurts out that their first opponent is the Black Blade, the current leading guild in the kingdom. They have 8 A-class swordsmen, and their leader, Georg, is as furious as a vampire. He'll surely crush them. Despite how hopeless their situation seems, she refuses to give up. That's exactly why they must win. She sees Aurel injured on the ground and yells at Reiner for hurting him, despite her explanation that they were only training. After the rigorous session, Aurel gets up and goes looking for food. The competition day arrives, and every contestant gathers in the open field. Spectators also come to place bets on their favorite teams, and of course, everyone bets on the Black Blade. 2 gamblers nearby joke that it's a match between the Guild of Old Glory and the Guild of New Glory, and they already know who will win. Lilia gets furious, insisting that her team will win, but Reiner pulls her back and calms her down. She reveals to her team that the odds of them winning are 20-1 because everyone believes they'll lose. Regardless, she's taken another loan using their house as collateral to bet on their victory. That way, if they win, they'll be rich, but if they lose, they're doomed. Georg shows up to mock them. He laughs at Lilia Lilia's desperate attempt to revive her dying guild and proudly reveals that he was the one who influenced the match fixing. He's sure there's no way Lilia and her classless teammates can defeat his A-class adventurers, so he's in for a good day. After he leaves, Arel looks at him silently. Then they proceed to the Colosseum for the game. They arrive on the field and check the list of participants from the Black Blade. The names terrify everyone, except Arel, who thinks they seem average. He asks Lilia if Georg isn't fighting and wonders if the guild is going easy on them. However, Reiner tells him the lineup isn't easy at all. It's suicide. 5 A-class swordsmen. Facing them is madness. Errol doesn't seem phased. The match begins, and the announcer introduces the first player from the Black Blade, an A-class fencer named Geo. When the announcer realizes Errol is classless, she's shocked, and so is everyone else. Geo is furious to be matched with a classless opponent. He lands a precise strike and assumes Errol has fainted until he realizes he hit an afterimage. He looks around and sees multiple illusions. Errol divides himself into 3 afterimages, so Geo attacks the third, but Errol surprises him with a fourth, the real one, and defeats him, 1 down. Errol grins, excited for the next round. He can create 5 afterimages, which seems impossible, but he learned it from his mother, who mastered the technique. The next swordsman is also A-class, and Arel uses his twin blades to defeat him. By this point, the spectators no longer believe he's classless. They start wondering if it's even possible to fake one's class. Arel faces the third opponent and again uses his afterimages to confuse him. Lilia and Reiner cheer excitedly. Reiner asks if Lilia wants to fight, but Lilia declines, admitting she can't handle those A-class fighters. She'll just cheer Errol on. Together, they shout encouragement as the match continues. The fourth A-class swordsman, armed with a shield, accuses Arel of lying about his class. Errol doesn't bother to argue. He uses the skill he copied from his last opponent to disarm the shield, then uses foresight to defend himself. He learned it from his mother, who often used it to punish him during training. His opponent notices the kick Errol used and admits it looks familiar. He asks how Errol earned it, and Errol says he got it from the previous fighter, though he didn't even master it properly. He adjusts his stance, repeats the move, and lands a perfect strike. Then he takes his opponent's shield and prepares to use it. The opponent insists he won't allow Errol to use his master skill against him, but really, he has no choice. While the competition continues, Lilia complains to Reiner that she didn't know Arl was that good. If she had known, she would have taken even more loans using her father's weapons so they could win bigger. Reiner calls her ridiculous. What will she do if they lose? But Lilia says she already has a plan for after they win. Reiner assumes she means an after party. But Lilia's real plan is to marry Errol. That way, if they lose and loan sharks come after them, she can run away with him, knowing he can always rebuild the guild. Reiner rolls her eyes and keeps watching. Arl's opponent is stunned when he sees Arl use his shield dash, move against him, and win. As Arl is declared the winner of the 4th round, silence falls. No one believes he's classless. They call him a liar and demand the organizers cancel the match. The announcer, under pressure, declares that the organizers have approved a public test of Errol's class. She asks if he agrees. He says yes. She places the envelope on the crystal ball, and it confirms that Arel is truly classless. With the truth revealed, the match continues. The 5th player is the master swordsman, Masamune. Lilia and Reiner recognize him as a swordsman from the east. They didn't know he was part of the Black Blade. They call him Georg's secret weapon. Arl sees the katana on Masamune's back and instantly senses danger. Even from a distance, he can feel the threat, so he plans to stay back. Masamune admits Arel is smart for keeping his distance. He warns that if Arel gets closer, he'll use his master skill. Arel's curiosity kicks in. He wants him to use it, so he closes in. Just as he does, Masamune strikes with the Yai sword, but to his shock, he hits an afterimage. Errol appears behind him, calm as ever, and says Masamune is fast, but he was trained by someone faster. He unleashes Tempest Thrust, the master skill of the Sword Princess, and defeats Masamune in 1 strike. The attack is so fast that even the spectators can't see it happen. The crowd erupts in protest. They've all lost their bets. Lilia and Reiner hug each other in joy. Errol walks over, and Lilia tries to surprise him with a hug, but he dodges and she falls. Reiner stretches her hand for a hug too, but awkwardly drops it when Errol jokes that she should remove her shield first. The team laughs in victory while Georg looks at them in rage, silently swearing revenge. Well, I really wonder what he'll do next. The three members of Dragon Fang celebrate their tournament victory by throwing a feast. Apparently, Lilia is old enough to drink, so she gets herself some beer, while Arl and Reiner drink juice like innocent kids. Lilia once again starts nagging Arl, and this time she begins begging him to marry her. Even though it can be said that Lilia is kinda drunk, I'm pretty sure that even if she were sober, she'd still do that. Arl instantly refuses her proposal, but she keeps trying, even to the point of telling him that she'll fulfill all of his youthful desires. However, Arl has already told her that he's not into flat earthers and is more interested in round earthers like Reiner. Reiner is taken by surprise because of Arl's sudden cheesy comment. Although Arl has been flirting with her ever since they met, she still thinks he's lying to her face. Arl promises that he's being honest, but Reiner is still unsure, as she's certain she's not attractive since all her life she's heard that she looks like a man. And by the way, let's also ignore poor Lilia's existence like these two are doing right now. Reiner keeps insisting that she's got no womanly charms, while ironically, her womanly charms keep shaking uncontrollably. Our cultured boy also can't keep his eyes off Reiner's womanly charms, so he, of course, disagrees with her statement. In any case, Reiner isn't interested in getting into a relationship right now, as her only goal is to become the strongest swordsman. Lilia, the delusional loser, doesn't give up and literally tries to seduce Arel, putting her hands in places flat earthers shouldn't and telling him to come back to her room if he's feeling tired. She promises to give him a nice massage if he does, but Arel completely dismisses her, stating that he would prefer getting the massage from Reiner instead. LOL. Jokes aside, the two swordsmen of the Black Blade Guild begin training again, where Arel continuously takes a heavy beating from Reiner to copy her guts skill. The guildmaster, Rod, comes by after hearing the noise, not knowing that these rookies have won the tournament, and asks if they're causing a ruckus to vent out their frustration for losing. Lilia gives Rod a reality check, telling him that they actually won their match against the Black Blade Guild. Rod doesn't believe it, and asks Lilia if the Black Blade Guild sent newbies to fight them. But when he learns that all of their opponents were at least A-ranked, and not only that, but the classless Errol beat all of them by himself, he realizes that this kid must be something really special. Even after receiving this good news, Rod doesn't get his hopes up, stating that Errol will soon be poached by a better guild, and that their guild is bound to be doomed again. But Lilia tells Rod not to worry, as she's got a foolproof plan to make Arl stay with them forever, and that is to force him to marry her. Before her dad can say anything, Errol clarifies that he hasn't made any promises like that, and breaks poor Lilia's heart once again. But he does reprimand Rod for being so hopeless, telling him that he should keep fighting like his daughter until the very end, or chop off the other arm that's still intact. Rod feels disrespected by Errol's comment and shouts at him, saying his days as a swordsman are over ever since he lost his arm, because a dual swordsman is nothing without dual swords. Errol doesn't believe that, because he himself has gone against the norms and become a great swordsman through his best efforts. Rod doesn't bother arguing with Errol any further and walks away, but Errol doesn't mind. The three teenagers discuss how to get the old man back into action and help him rediscover his passion. Errol also expresses his desire to spar with Rod so he can become stronger by copying Rod's skills as well. Since they can't do that now, Lilia suggests an alternative, telling Arel to explore the dungeon underneath the city. Both Arel and Reiner agree. Reiner, especially, is interested because she needs more battle experience to prepare for the next Sword God Cup. Arel doesn't know what she's talking about, so she explains that the Sword God Cup is the biggest tournament in the City of Swords that determines who the most supreme swordsman is. Assuming that Arel would want to participate, Lilia brings him a participation form, but instead of signing it, he tears it apart, realizing that the form Lilia gave him was actually a marriage certificate. Haha, good save there, really. Anyway, Errol decides to pay Lilia back for all her shenanigans, and almost chokes her to death until she apologizes. LOL. Meanwhile, somewhere else in a dark place, an evil mage working for Georg reveals that she's been spying on Errol's group and reports to Georg that they'll be heading to the city's dungeon tomorrow. Hearing this news puts a smile on Georg's face, and he wonders how to orchestrate a little accident in the dungeon that will wipe Arl off this planet. The next morning, Lilia sneaks into Arl's room wearing her nightwear, hoping that when Errol wakes up, he'll be charmed by her cute looks. She's about to give him a morning smooch, but Errol wakes up and punishes her justifiably by literally squashing her face. He then deals the finishing blow by calling her the female version of Jeffrey Epstein. He doesn't stop there, however, and literally ties her up to the bed before leaving his room so she can't disturb his peace anymore. Later, the trio heads to the entrance of the dungeon, where they learn that there are many teleportation circles leading to specific floors, making it more convenient for adventurers to fight against monsters of their preferred choice. They head inside the dungeon and first fight against living armor type monsters. Errol is able to defeat the monsters using his blink dash skill, but the only problem is that these types of monsters can regenerate infinitely. This actually makes them perfect for swordsmanship training, so Errol is glad. Errol notices that Lilia doesn't seem to participate in battles, so he asks her if she even has a class. She proudly states that she's a fencer and voluntarily offers to teach Errol all of her skills. However, Errol doesn't require her amateur skills because he already has all the skills of the advanced class of fencer, which is the Sword Princess, his mother's class. This literally makes Lilia useless, and Errol doesn't forget to say it out loud, LOL. Lilia, however, still believes she can teach Errol something more useful, and that is to have compassion. Hearing this, both Errol and Reiner stare at Lilia for a second before ignoring her useless existence completely. The two swordsmen walk forward when they suddenly hear screams for help coming from the distance. Curiosity gets them, and they go to meet the injured boy. They see him in a pool of his own blood as he screams that he was fighting in a trap and it got out of hand. His situation doesn't seem extraordinary, especially because they all know things like that happen in the dungeon. Reiner offers to take him to a safe place, but he tells them that he needs them to save his friends first. Reiner thinks about his issue, and it seems fair, so she suggests that they enter the dungeon and help his friends. However, Lilia stops them. She insists that they won't go out of their way to help him without compensation, so he should pay them. Well, it turns out she doesn't even have the compassion she wants to teach. The boy claims she is familiar, as he has seen her in some interviews. While she hopes it's the hot swordsman interview that she attended, she is disappointed to find out it is an interview about a falling guild. The boy knows she likes money, so he offers her money, and she takes it. Before they enter the dungeon, Errol informs them that something is wrong. The boy seems to be bleeding, but Lilia insists the money is real, and she is going for the money. They follow the boy to his friends. Errol figures that the boy's injuries are fake. He is bleeding. His divine protection has run out, yet he is walking well. That can't happen if he is really weak. Regardless, he concludes that whatever the boy has for them will be fun, so he follows. They get to the gate of the trap, and the boy opens it. They find an empty room with no signs of his friends except blood. To their shock, they also find a gold coin in the middle of the blood. As a selfish young lady, Lilia runs to get the coin. She activates a teleportation trap, and they realize they have been ambushed. The injured boy also gets caught in the trap, as he wasn't told that the teleportation would take everyone in the room. They arrive at a strange level in the dungeon, a level that even Reiner and Lilia haven't gotten to, which means it is lower than level 14. The room is empty, and it also has no exit, which makes them very worried. As they think of what to do, the boy cries in anger about what has happened to him, so they face him to get an explanation for what is happening. Just as Lilia tries to walk to the boy to ask him what has happened, she mistakenly kicks the coin, and it moves to the middle of the portal. As the portal opens, a shielded monster comes out. They are shocked. They have never seen something like that before, and they turn to the boy to know what is happening. The boy reveals he was only paid to take them to that part of the dungeon, where they would get teleported to the lowest part and fight the strongest monsters called the Sword Gods. Before they could understand what they were going through, the monster slashes from afar off, and it cuts a part of the boy's head and also breaks the wall. Luckily for Lilia, that Arl had bent her before that attack. The attack is severe. They haven't seen such before, but Arel has seen it before. It is the divine air slice used by the Sword Gods. It could slice anything from afar off. The monster uses another fast skill, and he holds Errol to the wall. Errol fights back while the others are scared. He tells them the skill is the higher level of Blind Dash, which is Divine Step, and he wanted the skill, which was why he allowed himself to get hit. He fights back and goes sword for sword with the monster. Suddenly, the monster uses a great skill, the Divine Presence. The presence is so powerful that people can no longer move. This takes Arel back to when he was training with his mother. After several attempts of getting hit by her with the Divine Presence, she tells him he has conquered a little, but after using Divine Presence, the next thing he has to use is the Infinite Break. She attacks him with it, and light shines across the sky. At that moment, he decides to use the same on the monster. He hits the monster by throwing the coin and slicing facing it. Then, the monster disappears. Everyone there is in awe. They ask him how he could defeat a sword god, and he reveals he was trained by a sword god. His mother is indeed a sword god who had disguised herself as a sword princess because she doesn't like attention. Reiner wishes she had never competed or fought him because there is no way she could win against someone like that. Since they have defeated the god, a portal opens and they set to leave. Lilia asks the boy to come with them, and the boy is shocked that they pitied him enough to take him along. Later, Rod goes to the bar to drink. He thinks of Errol's words that all he needs is an arm. As he considers it, some boys talk about the trap they set for the adventurers and how they have left one of their friends to die with them. Rod hears the guild's name and figures it's his daughter. He rushes to the boys and asks them what they mean. In anger, he breaks their table and asks for an explanation. Before he fights them, Georg comes behind him happily. He claims he has come to break the bad news that his daughter and her friend met an unfortunate end in the dungeon. Rod screams. Georg was the same person who had destroyed his hand, and he doesn't understand why Georg would take his daughter too. Before he collapses with this news, Lilia and her friends come to the same bar to celebrate their latest win. She sees her father and Georg and wonders why they are there. Georg is shocked that they are alive and wonders how they survived that room. They admit that the fight was hard, but with Errol, they could win. Georg couldn't believe that they survived, so he walks away angrily. He goes to his room to rant, screaming that he had successfully defeated Rod by destroying his arm, and the sword princess has disappeared. Now that he should be the strongest man in the kingdom, he now has to compete with a classless boy. His anger invokes a sword that is imbibed with rage. The sword offers to help him. Will he take this offer? Is his hatred worth going lower for?